What's going on YouTube? So of course the Prius has always been known as one of the most efficient vehicles on the road. And today we're with the all new generation, and not just that, but the Prime version, the plug-in hybrid.
And we've lived with this plug-in hybrid variant for the last 7 days to figure out if this is a perfect middle ground between a gas car and an EV.
Let's go ahead and find out. Now, like always, let's go ahead and start out under the hood. So this is really what makes the Prime special, because it is a plug-in hybrid and things have really changed a lot from the previous generation. So we have a larger 2-liter 4-cylinder engine. We have a larger 13.6 kilowatt-hour lithium-ion battery pack. That together makes the new 5th generation hybrid system 220 total system horsepower.
As far as the transmission is concerned, all of them are going to be routed to the ground via an ECVT. Of course, it is front-wheel drive only, and as far as the range for the Prime model, 44 miles for the SE or 39 miles for the XSE or XSE Premium model. And we do also have a real-world test of that range live on the channel already, and I think you're going to be pleasantly surprised at how far this Prius goes, so you'll want to check that out.
Right, and of course we're going to take this out on the road. We're going to show you all the things like just how much more power this thing has versus the previous generation. It's like no Prius you've ever seen before. And we're going to do things like get our signature sound level reading. But first we got to close up the hood here and take a look at this new stylish exterior. Now when it comes to the exterior design, you can shout it from the rooftop. The Prius is not ugly anymore. As a matter of fact, actually the first day we had this, a trucker stopped right in front of our house to compliment this vehicle. Previously, the only way anyone's stopping for a Prius is when one of them pulled out in front of you, which is pretty common behavior. This design, though, is really a showstopper. It has a really great futuristic look, and that starts with how aerodynamic it is. So this, of course, is very aerodynamic, actually 0.27 coefficient of drag, due to the slope of this hood and the windshield. As you can see, they're basically level with each other, and you'll see that again in the interior. It's a very, very raked windshield. Now, as far as design elements, the Prime comes in just these sport trim levels, so you're gonna notice a few more aggressive elements. Down here in your lower fascia, you've got a nice gloss black finish, a little silver accent down here to spice it up as well, and overall just a really good look. The headlights also have a very dynamic shape to them. You're gonna have projector LEDs as standard equipment, and as you can see, the daytime running light and turn signal indicator has this really cool effect where it bends and wipes down. You also have a dedicated LED accent down here at the bottom, but that's not a fog light. And as we head around to the rear design, the stylish look continues back here as well. They've really eliminated a lot of those kind of funky elements of the old model, like the split weird window situation, and the fact that this is 1 inch wider than the outgoing model, so it just has a more substantial look.
Yeah, Drew, I don't know about you, it's been looking like a Lamborghini in my driveway all week long. Now, as far as some of the other elements, I want to talk about just general design touches. Prius is spelled out across the back. We have our Prime branding right here, our Beyond Zero Emissions badge right here. And I want to talk about our taillights. These are going to be full-length taillights, and we're going to see if all the elements are LED. So Drew went ahead and pushed the brake light. We have a LED brake light. We also have an LED turn signal indicator in the nice amber finish, and our reverse light is integrated down here in the bumper. That's also LED. So 3 out of 3 elements are LED on this Prius's taillight design. I really like it. I also want to point out clear lenses for the Prime Prius model. Now, as far as other things, down here in the lower area, as you would expect, you're not going to have exposed exhaust outlets on any Prius Prime.
Moving on to our wheels choices, you've got 2 different choices. You have 17-inch alloys with aero covers, or you can get these 19-inch contrast alloy wheels with XSE as well as XSE Premium trims. I really like the way these wheels look. They're very stylish. But again, as Mason mentioned in the spec dump, that is going to really account for that difference in range. So if you want the maximal range, you have to go for the ones with aero covers. Now around the wheel arches, you do have a nice gloss black finish. You'll see that gloss black finish carry up here to the mirrors as well. And these will have standard blind spot monitoring as well as standard heating.
And since this is the Prime model, let's go ahead and show off the charging port. It's over here on the right side. You have your gas tank on the left side. And as far as the battery capacity, it's 13.6 kilowatt hours, like Drew said at the beginning. That means that you can charge on a 240 volt outlet in 4 hours fully. And if you're using a 120 volt household style outlet, it will take 11 hours to charge this Prius Prime. Now, as far as the overall length for this Prius, we're looking at 181.1 inches for this new generation. It's also going to be 2 inches lower than before. So yeah, it's lower, it's wider, and a lot sleeker. And why is it a little sleeker here at the side? You can see that because we actually have hidden door handles for the rear door. So that's a really interesting design touch for this new Prius. And as you can see, just looking at the overall side profile, it is very, very aerodynamic. You can see that just like you would in the front. And honestly, I think you could ramp a car up and shoot it off of the front of this Prius model. Now, as far as other things I want to talk about your safety systems, because that's an important area for the Prius Prime. You're going to get all of your active safety features that you would on any Prius model, standard on this model, but you will also throw in a traffic jam assist function as well as hands-free lane changing. That is a Prime exclusive feature. And another Prime exclusive feature would be the solar roof. We don't have it on this particular model, but you can get it on the Prime. And that's going to wrap up the exterior design. But
if you're new here, we're brothers, and we've been reviewing cars since we were 12
and 16. We may be young, but we love cars.
And we'd love for you to subscribe to be a part of our Car Confections family. Let's learn a lot, have some fun with all the latest cars.
Now on to the interior, but first we'll take a look at the key fob as always. You do have a standard smart entry system on this Prius Prime. This is what your key fob looks like. It does have branding right there. You can also get a digital key system on the Prime as well. You just have to upgrade to at least the XSE trim level with the optional equipment. To open up the door, just reach behind the handle, and you do have a new sound effect with this Prius model. Go ahead and take a look inside the cabin. It is radically different from the previous generation, just like the exterior, and you'll notice some BZ4X inspired things inside. But first, let's talk about cabin materials and color options. So you are going to have cloth seating on your base SE trim level. Once you get to the XSE though, that's going to get you Toyota's Softex leatherette seat. So as you can see, this is going to be a faux leather, but very realistic feeling. Nice perforation inside as well. And we have this color contrast stitching area up here at the top, which I do like. Now seat adjustments are going to be 8-way power. It would be manual on the SE trim level, but we do have 2-way lumbar support, and you also have memory seating if you choose the fully loaded XSE premium model. But let's go ahead and climb inside, take a look at all the details. And now that we're inside, let's take a look at the rest of the cabin materials. So we'll start out with our door trim. We do have more leatherette material across the armrest. It is going to be soft touch plastic all across the door trim. As we move to the upper dashboard, some parts of this are going to be a hard touch plastic, including this part up here, but this area is going to be a soft leatherette material. We do have a red accent that runs through here. You also have a strip of ambient lighting, which I'll show you in a little bit. And then down here on the center part, we have a full piano black finish, no padding along the console though. Now to fire it up, just press the button. But like always, let's get into a first-person perspective and take a look at all the details. Start out by taking a look at our gauge cluster. So, as you can tell, this is not your typical gauge cluster. The previous generation of the Prius didn't even have a traditional gauge cluster, and this one here has this combination, which is basically between a regular gauge cluster and a head-up display. It's mounted quite high up here on the dashboard. As you can see, it's a 7-inch display. This contains all the typical expected information. You also have some dedicated stuff for your hybrid drive modes and your electric range, of course. But I have to complain about this because no matter where we position this steering wheel, we still seem to block out a good deal of this gauge cluster. Never really could get this in a comfortable place. So I don't really care that much for that display. Now, as far as the steering wheel, we do have the latest BZ design from the BZ4X. It is going to be nicely leather wrapped on all models. And then every single Prime is going to have a couple features. First off, every Prime is going to have rain sensing wipers And every Prime is also going to have a heated steering wheel. The wheel itself is manual, tilt, and telescoping. Let's go ahead and take a look at interior storage next. So turn over here to our center console. It is decently sized, not super deep, but it is a good length. We have a felt lining down there at the bottom and 2 USB-C ports. But let's go ahead and check out the storage. Now, I forgot the coupons today, but might as well simulate how much cash you're gonna save on fuel by driving one of these things. Look at that. All those savings are gonna fit in your center console, no problem whatsoever. You also have a nice wireless phone charging pad. You just slide it in there. You got your 2 cup holders up there. Nice storage area up here. And then if you pull that off, then you can find your hashtag hidden compartment. There's a lot of little Easter eggs in this vehicle that you'll find as you own it. Above that, you have your 2 USB-Cs and a 12-volt outlet. Now pulling back to the shifter, this is the new nub style shifter for the Toyota brand. Push to the left, pull back for drive, press back once more. That's going to activate your high regen mode, which is B. Press forward, and that's going to put you into reverse. Most models are going to find this backup camera. It's just a traditional style. We don't have active trajectory, but we do have both front and rear parking sensors here with the XSE trim level. One thing that you can get is a 360 camera. You're just going to have to option that on to the XSE premium version of the Prime. Then for park, just press the P. You do have an electronic parking brake, which will automatically engage. And then behind that, you've got some controls. This is going to be your drive mode controller. You also have the ability to turn on and off your EV mode. And then, of course, you have brake hold. And let's rise on up here to our climate controls. So with these climate controls, it is going to be a single zone automatic setup. That's going to be standard on all models. So you just adjust the temperature right there. Off to the side, we have 3-stage heated seats. That's included here on the XSE trim level. You can actually get seat ventilation. You're just going to need to upgrade to the XSE Premium. Now, before we get into the whole display situation, let's first get into our audio system. So you have a standard 6-speaker sound system on the SE as well as the XSE trim levels. You do also have a 8-speaker JBL sound system, but that's going to require the XSE Premium. So we've only got the XSE, so we'll give this 6-speaker system a sample. Overall sound quality is not too bad for a standard 6-speaker sound system. Alright, so let's talk the displays. You've got 2 different ones that you can pick between: a standard 8-inch display that's going to be on SE and XSE, or the 12.3-inch display you're looking at right now is standard on XSE Premium, or it is also available as an option on this XSE. As you can see, very nice looking display. Thankfully, this one is executed much better than that one up there. Very clear, very visible. It's also well within reach for the driver. And as you can see right now, we're running wireless Android Auto. You also have wireless Apple CarPlay. And this is the latest Toyota infotainment system. So inside of here, you've got all the typical functions. You've got these nice, easy to use shortcuts along the side. And then this is what your built-in navigation system looks like. Moving on up, most models will come with an auto-dimming mirror with HomeLink universal remotes, but if you choose the XSE Premium, you can also add a digital mirror. You might want that because even though the visibility out the front and sides are both excellent, the visibility out the back is definitely a little bit compromised, so that would kind of cut out that obstacle. Now up above, we got one more thing to mention. That's going to be our model's fixed panoramic sunroof. So this is something that's standard on the top model. As you can see, it's kind of 2 pieces with a manual sunshade, but like I said, it is fixed, so it will not open.
All right, guys, let's go ahead and check out the rear seats of this Prius Prime. Now, I want to talk about the space figures first because this is going to be an area that's pretty intriguing for this new model. So, 34.8 inches of rear legroom, 36.4 inches of headroom. That's about an inch less headroom than the previous generation model, which honestly isn't bad considering that the entire roofline is lowered 2 inches, and as sleek as the design is, you might would think you have a real problem with headroom, but they have done a nice cutout here, so not much of a problem there. It's about an inch more legroom than the previous Prius, and it's about the same as a Toyota Corolla for reference. Now, the seat is adjusted to Drew, who's 5'8". I'm 5'9". I still have about 8 inches of space between my knees and the seat back, and my feet can just stick the tip in underneath of the seat. Now, as far as here in the center, we don't have any vents or anything. Dropping below that, we have 2 USB-C ports. We also have a household style outlet, which I'm very happy to see on this XSE model. It's not even the fully loaded premium. If we fold down the center armrest, there's 2 cup holders inside of here. You can also get heated rear seats. That's an option on XSE premium trim levels. We also have our own shade for the rear moonroof. And then let's turn to the door trim. The door trim is going to be mostly a hard touch material on all of this part, all through here. It does have a nice leatherette pad where your arm is going to rest, and we do have a bottle storage in the very bottom. Now walking up to the tailgate on the Prius. Of course, the entire rear area opens up because this is a Prius after all. And as far as the space back here, we're looking at 20.3 cubic feet of cargo capacity for this model. That's going to be a little bit less than the previous version of the Prius, but if you're comparing this Prius Prime to the previous Prius Prime, it's actually going to be slightly more cargo capacity, even though both the Prime and the regular hybrid have the exact same cargo capacity for this new model. Now, we don't have an exact figure with the seats folded. They do fold 60-40 split, and as you can see, you can reach up there and fold them pretty easily. Makes for a good amount of space. The previous generation was around 50 cubic feet, so I'd say you're going to be sitting at maybe 45 cubic feet as a maximum. Now, I did bring our handy-dandy measuring tape here so we can measure from the back of the front seat to the rear of the cargo area. We're looking at exactly 69 inches of space. It's a fantastic measurement, guys, and you know what that means? An adult bicycle could fit in this Prius's cargo area. Now, I don't think it's going to fit vertically, so you could slide it in sideways, and you could leave a fully assembled bicycle in this cargo area. Now down below that, we do not have a spare tire. We do have our charge port or charge plug integrated underneath of there. Additionally, we do have a household outlet here on the left side and a little bit of storage on each of the sides. Well guys, here we are behind the wheel of the all-new Toyota Prius Prime. This time back home in Kentucky, and we're going to be doing a full test drive talking about a lot of different things, as you can see on the screen right now, including getting our signature sound level reading. So let's go ahead and dive in with a hard acceleration to see what the fastest Prius is all about.
And that's 60.
Wow. All right.
Yeah, so this Prius Prime in particular is definitely pretty quick. Toyota says the 0 to 60 on this is 6.6 seconds. So like we said earlier, this does qualify as the fastest Prius ever. So you probably were thinking that it was going to go from like 20.5 seconds to 19.5 seconds. But no, this is actually legitimately pretty quick. Definitely goes off the line really nicely with the electric torque. So we are in the hybrid mode there. That's going to be your quickest 0 to 60, is to let the electric motor and the engine work together. But we'll show you also later on what it's like to accelerate with just the electric motor. Now to remind you guys what the total power is, it's going to be 220 horsepower. This is using a larger 2-liter 4-cylinder with the 5th generation hybrid system. It also has a more powerful electric motor. That by itself is making 161 horsepower, which, fun fact, is more than the previous Prius Prime total horsepower.
Yeah, you can definitely feel that, you know, when we do that full EV acceleration. it is plenty quick enough to get this vehicle up to speed, actually faster than the flow of traffic. So there's really no reason, if you keep this vehicle charged up, that you'd even need to kick the engine on at all to get this vehicle up to speed.
Right, and actually the default in the Prime is to go into a full EV mode. It will stay in the full EV mode until the battery is depleted. Even if you floor it, it will not kick the engine on unless you change it into that hybrid mode or you run out of battery, of course. So let's actually, go ahead and go back into the EV mode, and once I take off here, I'll show you guys how that accelerates. So as you can see, not too bad at all, which makes sense because the majority of your power is actually coming from the electric motor.
Yeah, we were about to blow that tracks off the road.
Yeah.
But now that we're on our designated strip of highway here, I do want to talk about your ride quality as well as get our signature sound level reading. Now, we've been in this Prius quite a lot this week. We've had it out for the full 7 days to test everything out, and overall I think the ride quality is very compliant. It's a perfectly good ride quality for anyone in this segment of vehicle. You're going to be very impressed, even despite having the really large 19-inch wheels for this XSE model. I do want to point out though, these seats are very comfortable upon sitting in them for the first place, but I will say that as time goes on they get a little less comfortable. That's just something that we've noticed over the last week, but overall not bad whatsoever. I do want to get our sound level reading. .1 decibels is our official Car Confections reading for this Prius Prime, which is a very good sound level reading. Kind of sounds like a rocket ship too when you take off.
It does.
And as far as how that rates against some of our other things in the segment, it's going to be one of the quietest options. This does test quieter than what we had previously looked at in California, so it's going to be at the upper end of the segment. And if you want a full list of every vehicle that we review, we have that on our website for our sound level reading. So you can categorize by the type of vehicle it is, as well as order them by the sound level reading. So you can see the quietest in the segment as well as the loudest in the segment. So go ahead to carconfections.com and check that out.
Now I just did something I thought I might never do. Put the Prius in sport mode. And that really takes us to one of the very interesting things about this Prius, and that's that it's surprisingly sporty. When we took it down this back road for the first time this week, we were honestly pretty shocked because we did drive it in California, but we didn't have the chance to take it on a good back road like we have here in Kentucky. And boy, this thing really surprises you. First of all, it's actually quite buttoned down. The chassis is tuned very nicely with this TNGA platform. Also, what they've done is given the steering quite a bit of heft. Even in the normal mode, it has a pretty good solid feel. Here in the sport mode, yeah, it's nice and heavy, but also very fast responding. So you can see a barely turn off center and you get that nice immediate response. It really has a surprisingly agile and tossable feel when you go around corners. Obviously, you're going to be somewhat limited by the grip of the tires, but other than that, it's really actually kind of fun to drive.
Yeah. And as far as your transmission is concerned, we have an ECVT. Your fuel economy is going to be sitting at 48 miles a gallon if you fully deplete the battery down, which is still very impressive fuel economy. That's for the XSE and XSE Premium. The SE model gets 52 miles a gallon. And for the range, to remind you of that, we have 39 miles of EPA rated range on this particular XSE and XSE Premium. It's 44 miles if you choose the SE model. And we did a real world range test here in Kentucky. So if you want to check that video out, it's already live on the channel, so you can check it out. I promise you won't want to miss it, because there's actually a little bit of a surprising element to it as to how far we went on a full charge in this Prius Prime.
Right, I think if you're interested in this vehicle, you will definitely be interested in seeing that range test.
And it's time for us to do one of our other signature elements, our airball and slam dunk. Drew, what's our slam dunk for this Prius Prime?
So the slam dunk has got to be the powertrain. You've got more power, more pure electric range, more overall efficiency. What is there really to complain about?
Yeah, and as far as our airball, living with this vehicle for a week, the one thing that we really don't like, we don't like the steering wheel and gauge cluster setup. The steering wheel is very confusing. All the buttons there's too many of them on the steering wheel itself, and also the gauge cluster, at least where I sit position-wise, is half blocked by the steering wheel. And not to mention, also, I feel like there's too much information on the gauge cluster itself. It's pretty small, and there's a lot of information on it, so it's a little overwhelming for both the steering wheel and the gauge cluster setup. But you guys let us know if you think the same in the comments down below. And lastly here, I will talk about the warranty. It's going to be Toyota Signature Warranty, 3-year, 36,000 miles for your basic, 5-year, 60,000 miles for your powertrain. You do also get 2 years of complimentary maintenance included with Toyota products. And how much is this Prius Prime going to cost? Well, we're starting out at $32,350 for the SE model. The XSE is $35,600. XSE Premium is $39,170. Now, what we have today is the XSE model. We do also have a few options as well. Once we add in those options plus the $1,095 destination, we're looking at $38,395 as equipped, which really I don't think is a bad price point for this Prius Prime, considering it is a plug-in hybrid, and depending on what state you live in, you could get state incentives. And guys, that's where we're going to leave off on this in-depth review of the 2023 Toyota Prius Prime. If you enjoyed watching this video or found it helpful in your purchasing decisions, we would really appreciate it if you hit that subscribe button down below. By subscribing, you help us get access to vehicles like this, where we can test them out for a full 7 days, provide range tests, as well as our full opinions on it. So by subscribing, you play a really important role in the growth of this channel. Also, if you're already a subscriber, thank you so much for your continued support, and we'll catch you next time as we sample more of the latest automotive delicacies.